Growing up, my older sister's bullying and my parents' neglect forced me to leave home at 18. Several years later, they reached out for financial assistance for her, highlighting the ongoing issues we faced. My sister Rose had always been difficult, exacerbated by her ADHD, which contributed to her aggressive and hyperactive behavior. From the moment I was born, when I was just a baby and she was 5, her hostility towards me was palpable. She couldn't stand sharing our parents' attention, often throwing tantrums whenever they paid any attention to me. My childhood memories are marred by instances where she'd snatch toys from me, turning even my birthdays into spectacles of her jealousy. As we grew, her aggression escalated to physical confrontations. She'd push me around unnecessarily and bite me, making it clear her issues with me were deep-seated. Although my parents tried to include her in social activities, these attempts often ended in stress due to her inability to interact peacefully with others. The situation at home made me feel invisible as Rose monopolized our parents' attention with her demands, leaving my needs and feelings as an afterthought. By the time I was a teenager, I was desperate for an escape, looking forward to a life beyond the reach of my sister's shadow and my parents' indifference. When it came time for college, I chose schools far from home despite my parents' pleas to stay. They revealed their selfish motive then. They expected me to take over caring for Rose as they enjoyed retirement. This shocked me, as I had never agreed to such a plan. They even admitted that my very birth was planned with Rose's future dependency in mind. This revelation hurt deeply, making their prior neglect painfully clear. Despite their attempts to keep me close, I left for college with the help of my grandparents, who provided the emotional and financial support my parents withheld. The subsequent years were challenging. I worked hard to fund my education through jobs and loans, struggling without familial support. Years later, after establishing a successful career, my parents contacted me out of the blue, facing a crisis with Rose who had gotten into legal trouble due to her unchecked behavior. They hoped for reconciliation and possibly financial help. However, by then, I had built my life independently and decided against rekindling a relationship that had brought me so much pain. Their last-minute attempt to reconnect felt insincere, leaving me to continue my life without their involvement, cherishing the support my grandparents gave me during my formative years. With the situation unchanging, I focused on strengthening the bonds that truly supported me, mainly with my grandparents who had stepped up when I needed them most. Even as my parents' calls became more frequent, appealing for a reunion and subtly hinting at financial support for Rose, I remained firm. I couldn't just overlook the years of neglect and emotional turmoil they had put me through. As my sister faced her legal battles, I found myself reflecting on the distance I had traveled, both physically and emotionally, from my family. The more they reached out, the more I realized how much I had grown away from that part of my life. Their desperation seemed to highlight their own lack of preparation for handling Rose's issues without me as a backup. During a rare conversation, my father candidly acknowledged their past mistakes, admitting that they should have listened to me about Rose's behavior long ago. They even mentioned that they were considering therapy for Rose, something I had suggested years before. While part of me was relieved that they finally saw the necessity, another part was frustrated it had taken serious legal implications to prompt this action. Despite their newfound willingness to address Rose's needs, the damage was too profound to simply forgive and forget. The pain of my childhood and adolescence could not be erased by a few apologies or changed intentions. They had failed to protect me when I was vulnerable, choosing instead to cater to Rose's disruptive behavior at the expense of my well-being. The final straw came when they openly admitted their current outreach was driven by financial strain rather than genuine concern for our relationship. The request for financial help confirmed my suspicions that their reconnection attempt was motivated by necessity rather than a true desire to mend our broken ties. I decided to continue my life without their involvement, focusing on maintaining the supportive relationships I had built with friends and my grandparents. While part of me still cared for what was left of my family, I knew that allowing them back into my life could reopen old wounds that had taken years to heal. As I moved forward, I carried the lessons of my past with me, learning that sometimes the best way to protect oneself is to let go of toxic relationships, no matter how closely related. This realization allowed me to find peace in my decisions, embracing a future that I had shaped on my terms, surrounded by those who truly valued and respected me. Accepting the complexity of my emotions, I gradually came to understand that forgiveness was a personal journey, one that didn't necessarily include reconciliation or erasing the past. I chose to invest in relationships that brought positivity and growth into my life, cherishing the unconditional support from my grandparents and a close circle of friends who had become my chosen family. Over time, I occasionally updated my grandparents about any communication with my parents, ensuring they were aware of my decisions and the boundaries I had set. They respected my choices and continued to offer wisdom and love, reinforcing the idea that family isn't always defined by blood, but by the genuine care and support we offer each other. The challenge of navigating a relationship with my parents lingered. They occasionally tried to make amends, sending messages filled with regrets and wishes for a better past. Each message reminded me of the long journey we had all undergone, and while I acknowledged their efforts to reconcile, I maintained my distance, focusing on building a life that was healthy and fulfilling for me. As years passed, I found success and satisfaction in my career, which allowed me to repay all debts, including the generous financial help from my grandparents. This act of repayment was not just about money, it symbolized my independence and ability to stand on my own, proving that their investment in my future was worthwhile. Despite the peace I found in my personal and professional life, the scars from my past with my sister Rose and my parents' neglect sometimes resurfaced. Therapy became a valuable tool for me, helping me process unresolved feelings and teaching me how to maintain my emotional health. The journey taught me the importance of self-care and setting boundaries, principles I upheld diligently. While my parents continued their efforts to repair our relationship, I remained cautious, allowing only minimal contact that didn't compromise my emotional stability. In reflecting on my journey, I realized that moving forward didn't mean forgetting the past, it meant learning from it to create a safer, healthier future for myself. I had forgiven my parents enough to wish them well but chose not to forget their actions, allowing me to protect my well-being and prioritize my happiness. As I continued to navigate the complexities of familial relationships, I found strength in the support system I had cultivated, a testament to the enduring power of love and resilience. My story, marked by both hardship and triumph, serves as a reminder that with the right support and personal determination, one can overcome even the deepest of wounds and forge a path filled with peace and contentment. Life moved forward, and I nurtured the bonds that supported my growth. My relationship with my grandparents remained my emotional anchor, and their wisdom continued to guide me. They had stood by me during the most challenging times, and their enduring love and support were the bedrock on which I built my stability. As for my parents, the sporadic contacts we maintained were cordial but superficial. I was firm in protecting my boundaries, ensuring that our interactions did not dredge up old pains or disrupt the peace I had painstakingly built. They seemed to understand, to some extent, the depth of the rift that had grown between us, and while they expressed a desire to bridge this gap, I knew some distances were too far to close completely. Professionally, I flourished, finding fulfillment in work that not only challenged me intellectually but also offered opportunities to make a difference in the lives of others. This success was a testament to my resilience and the determination to rise above my early circumstances. The pride I felt in my achievements was magnified by my ability to give back to my grandparents, repaying their kindness not just with money but with love and the promise of a legacy of strength and gratitude. As years turned into decades, I sometimes reflected on the path my life had taken. The young child who once felt overshadowed and unloved had grown into a confident, compassionate adult, one who had learned the tough lessons of forgiveness and the importance of emotional autonomy. The challenges of my past had equipped me with a unique understanding and empathy towards others facing similar struggles, guiding me in both personal and professional relationships. In quieter moments, I considered the possibility of forgiveness. Had I forgiven my parents and sister? Perhaps, in a way that meant I no longer carried anger or resentment. Forgiveness, I had learned, was not a single act, but a continuous process of choosing peace over pain, a decision I made daily. The relationship with my sister remained non-existent. The hurt from our childhood was deep, and while I wished her no ill, I also knew that for my own well-being, it was better to remain apart. This decision was reaffirmed on the rare occasions I heard updates about her, often through my grandparents or mutual acquaintances. Her life had taken its own paths, and I hoped sincerely that she found the help she needed to find some measure of peace and normalcy. Ultimately, my story is one of triumph over adversity, a narrative of finding one's own way in the face of familial challenges and emotional pain. It is a reminder that our beginnings do not determine our endings, that with courage and support, we can overcome great obstacles. My life, filled with its own joys and sorrows, was a testament to the power of resilience and the enduring human capacity to heal and thrive despite the scars we carry. Time has a way of softening the sharpest edges of our memories, and as I aged, my view of the past mellowed. While the core experiences of my youth remained unaltered in my mind, the pain, the struggle, the eventual escape, I came to understand these events as critical chapters in my life story, each one contributing to the person I had become. My professional journey was fulfilling, and my personal life, enriched by friends and communities that shared my values and aspirations, brought me profound satisfaction. The lessons I had learned about resilience and self-reliance infused every decision, every relationship, and every goal. Inevitably, the passage of time brought changes to my family dynamics as well. My grandparents, my steadfast protectors, eventually passed away, leaving behind a legacy of unconditional love and the belief in doing what was right, even when it was hard. Their passing was a profound loss, yet their teachings remained with me, a guiding light in all my endeavors. The rare communications with my parents were tinged with the tentative overtures of reconciliation. While I kept them at a distance, a part of me acknowledged their aging and the natural human desire to reconnect with one's roots, however tangled those roots might be. The conversations were cautious, often awkward, but they revealed the undeniable truth that time was also wearing down their defenses, opening up spaces for new, if cautious, interactions. Rose's situation remained a painful topic. Her challenges persisted, but so did her journey through life, separate from mine. I learned of her through indirect means, occasional updates from relatives who still interacted with my parents. Each piece of news was a reminder of the life I had left behind, of the decisions I had made to protect my mental and emotional health. Reflecting on my family, I realized that forgiveness was not about erasing the past but about understanding it. It was about acknowledging that while the past could not be changed, the future was still a canvas yet to be painted. My parents' flaws and failures, once the source of so much pain, were now just facets of their own human imperfections. As I moved forward, I chose to focus on building and nurturing the relationships that added joy and meaning to my life. I invested in friendships, in community work, and in mentoring young individuals who reminded me of myself at their age, eager, determined, and sometimes a little lost. The possibility of a deeper reconciliation with my parents remained uncertain. Yet, as I embraced the complexities of my own journey, I found myself more open to the idea of dialogue, not as a way to return to the past but as a way to heal it. Whether this would lead to a realignment of our family ties or just a peaceful coexistence remained to be seen. Through it all, the most enduring lesson was that life, in all its chaos and beauty, was about the choices we make. Each day offered a new opportunity to choose kindness, to choose growth, to choose peace. And in these choices, I found my greatest strength and my truest path. In the landscape of my life, the bridges I'd burned were not reconstructed, but new ones were cautiously built. Engaging with my past didn't mean diving back into its tumultuous waters, but rather acknowledging its existence from the shore of my newfound stability. As I navigated these interactions with my family, especially my parents, I aimed for understanding rather than resolution. This approach didn't come without its challenges. The emotional distance sometimes seemed like a vast ocean, with waves of unresolved feelings washing over seemingly calm moments. Yet, these were the waters I learned to navigate, balancing the ship of my own well-being while occasionally sending lifeboats to those still struggling in the storm. My career flourished as I leveraged the resilience and resourcefulness honed by my early experiences. I became known in my field not just for my skills, but for my ability to overcome adversity, a narrative that many found inspiring. This reputation opened doors to speaking engagements and mentorship roles, allowing me to give back in ways that felt deeply fulfilling. The relationship with my parents evolved at a slow, sometimes painstaking pace. Each conversation, each shared memory, whether bitter or sweet, added layers to our understanding of each other. We were like archaeologists, carefully excavating fragments of our shared past, trying to piece together a map that could guide us to a better relationship. Despite these efforts, the specter of past grievances often loomed large. Forgiveness was not a blanket I could easily spread over the cold nights of childhood memories. Instead, it was a patchwork quilt, each piece sewn with threads of pain, empathy, and a deep desire for peace. My parents, in their later years, showed signs of regret and a willingness to understand the scars we all carried. They expressed a desire to make amends, not through grand gestures, but through the quiet acknowledgement of their mistakes and the impacts of those mistakes. This shift was not easy for them, and I respected the effort it required, recognizing that, like me, they were products of their own histories, each with its own complexities. Rose's journey remained a difficult topic. While I maintained my distance for self-preservation, I occasionally received updates from relatives who still supported her. I learned of her struggles and small victories through the lens of others, which provided a buffer against the direct impact of her challenges on my life. This second-hand knowledge allowed me to maintain a sense of peace, even as I wished her well from afar. As time wore on, the sharp edges of familial discord softened into something more manageable, more like old scars than fresh wounds. My life's narrative was no longer defined by the dysfunction of my early years but enriched by the lessons those years had imparted. In the end, I found that peace came not from perfection in relationships but from the acceptance of their imperfections. I learned to navigate the delicate balance between safeguarding my own mental health and opening up to potential reconciliation, however limited. It was a dance of boundaries and openings, each step taken with cautious optimism. Through it all, my life story was a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of setting boundaries, and the potential for personal transformation despite, or perhaps because of, the challenges we face. If you enjoy the video, please subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.